If you're in IT, you pretty much live and breathe Active Directory, right? It's the bedrock of your network, the gatekeeper for all your user access, and honestly, for decades, it's done its job really, really well. But what if that foundation you trust so much has some hidden cracks? What if the tool you rely on every single day is actually leaving your organization exposed in ways you might not even see coming? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
And that's the big question, isn't it? You trust AD. Of course you do. But what about the risks you can't see? Because let's be real, the most dangerous threats aren't the obvious ones. They're the ones lurking just beneath the surface, hiding in the gaps of the very systems we've come to depend on.
Now, let me be super clear about this. This isn't about ditching Active Directory. Not at all. It's about understanding what it was built for, and maybe more importantly, what it wasn't built for. It's a fantastic tool, for sure, but it was designed for a different era of IT, and that's where these little cracks and vulnerabilities start to appear.
So, let's all get on the same page here. We all know AD is the absolute gold standard for authentication. Its whole job is to make sure you are who you say you are, manage what groups you're in, and let you log into the network. It's powerful, it's reliable, it's completely essential. No one's arguing that.
But, and this is a huge but, here's where things get tricky. AD can tell you if someone can log in. What it can't tell you is if they should be able to. It just wasn't built for the complicated world of governance that we're all dealing with today, a world with hybrid environments, cloud servers, and dozens of different SaaS apps.
And that brings us to what we call the modern governance gap. It's that critical, kind of scary space between simply authenticating a user and truly governing their access. This is the zone where risk doesn't just start, it absolutely thrives.
Just look at the difference here. Authentication, AD's job, is basically a simple yes or no question. But governance is all about accountability. It asks the much harder questions, like who should have this access, why do they have it, and maybe most importantly, is that access still valid today? On all those critical points, AD is completely silent.
So what happens when that gap exists? Well, you get all these familiar headaches. Orphaned accounts for people who left the company 6 months ago. Privilege creep, where people just keep collecting more and more access they don't need. Offboarding, that's a total mess. And, oh, my favorite, the audit that requires giant spreadsheets and weeks of manual, painful work. I'm guessing some of that sounds familiar.
Okay, so enough about the problem, right? Let's talk about the solution. And the answer isn't to rip out AD and start over. No way. It's about building on top of it. It's about adding that missing piece, a dedicated governance layer.
So what exactly is Citadel Identity360? Think of it not as another directory, but as an intelligence layer that sits right on top of everything. It connects to AD, sure, but also to your HR system, your cloud apps, everything. It creates one single source of truth for governance, so you can finally have unified visibility and automate policies across your entire IT world.
I love this analogy because it just clicks. Active Directory gives you the key to get in the front door of the building. Citadel Identity360 is the master security system inside that building that makes sure you only have the keys to the specific rooms you're supposed to be in. It logs every time you use a key, and it takes your keys away the second you don't need them anymore. Simple as that.
All right, theory is great, but let's see how this actually works in the real world. We're going to walk through a few of those common, high-risk situations and compare the old, manual way of doing things with the new, automated, and secure way.
Okay, first up, lifecycle management. When people join, move departments, or leave the company. The old AD way is a mess of manual help desk tickets and custom scripts. It's slow, it's clunky, and it's a huge security risk when someone leaves. With Citadel, it's a clean, automated flow. The moment an employee's status changes in HR, their access is updated or totally revoked across every single system, instantly. That security gap is closed before it can even open.
Next, let's talk about user access reviews. This is something that in native AD just doesn't exist. So you're stuck in this nightmare of exporting lists to spreadsheets, emailing them around, and then chasing down managers for approvals. It's awful. Citadel completely replaces that chaos with a streamlined, automated campaign. Managers get a super simple interface to approve or deny access, and every single click is logged for a clean, simple, and beautiful audit trail.
And this is huge for compliance, segregation of duties, or SOD. Basically, you can't have the same person creating a payment and approving it, right? That's a huge conflict. Well, AD has no concept of this. It can't enforce those rules. Citadel, on the other hand, can. It actively detects and can even prevent those toxic combinations of access from ever being granted, all based on policies that you define. It's a game changer.
Finally, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, audits. Trying to pull audit data from AD means digging through thousands of cryptic, technical event logs. It's a massive pain. Citadel gives you centralized, human-readable reports that show you exactly who has access to what, who approved it, and when it was last reviewed. It's literally the report your auditors are dreaming of.
So what we're really seeing here is a fundamental shift in thinking. The goal isn't just about managing logins anymore. The new reality, the new standard for identity management, is all about comprehensive, intelligent governance.
This quote right here just says it all, perfectly. Active Directory tells you who can log in. Citadel Identity360 tells you who should have access, who approved it, whether it's still valid, and how to prove it to an auditor. That's the huge difference between having a simple gate and having a full-blown security system.
So what are the big things to take away from all this? First, modern governance has to be unified. It has to cover everyone from employees to contractors to even service accounts. Second, it has to be automated to get rid of human error and manual work. Third, compliance has to be built in, not an afterthought. And finally, it's about being proactive with risk intelligence, not just reacting after something bad happens.
Which really brings us to the final critical thought. The auditors are coming. The regulators are watching. And when they sit down and ask you to prove who has access to your critical data and why, are you going to be ready with a clear, confident answer? Or are you going to be scrambling with a pile of spreadsheets hoping for the best?
You know, relying on Active Directory alone for security is kind of like locking your front door but leaving all the windows wide open. It's time to cover those hidden risks, and you can do that with a dedicated governance solution like Citadel Identity360. Thanks so much for watching.